Take your Bibles, turn to Matthew chapter 11. We'll continue our devotion, thought, whatever our devotion on gluttony. The look I just got from Miss Keaton, like, are you really covering that topic? I'm just saying. Yesterday, by the way, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but as I was hungry early. Let's just say that. So I decided I would take an early lunch, and on my way out, somebody, I won't throw them under the bus, somebody who is typically located near the door said, after the message you preached this morning, so I just said, I'm leaving, and walked out and went and got lunch. Didn't feel a bit bad about it either, right? That just being humorous. One of the thoughts I had with it was gluttony, eventually it shows up. Shows up somewhere in your life, but gluttony is not just an overindulgence of food. Really, it's not even the purpose of pointing out gluttony in the Bible. I don't believe it's entirely, though there is a side of that because there is health issues with overeating. It does cause major health issues, and we are to take care of what God's given us, including our bodies. But there's a deeper reason there. So I'm going to read through, then I'm going to, as I told you yesterday, I'll try to get some of the definitions. One, a biblical definition we shared yesterday of the word gluttony in the Old Testament. And then I'm going to share with you some definitions that I've come up with over the years through studying in the Bible and just happened to see different things. And this came out of somebody saying to me one time, you know what you never hear preachers preach on? What? And it was a young man who was just wanting to be annoying, I'll say. He was just trying to take a dig at somebody. He's a great young man, though. He really is a great young man. But he had one of those moments where it seemed like I had several of those people in youth group. One told me, he says, I just don't, he basically didn't respect the pastor. He said, he only works 2 days a week. I thought, do you really believe that? I told him, I said, so it's not anything when the pastor is burdened for your family and he stays up late praying, then he gets up at 2 o'clock in the morning and is weeping by the bedside for your family's need. That's not any kind of laboring there at all. Or when he gets up and he starts studying through the Word of God to get an answer for your family members who are struggling with something, that's not work. But anyhow, he said, one thing you don't hear him preach on is gluttony. And I thought, he's trying to say because a lot of preachers are a little overweight. Well, so is 75% of the world's population. And now, so is he. He was all of like 15 years old. And now that he's not 15 years old and he's married, he's got a bit of a pudgy belly, right? But I love him in the Lord, and he's a great young man. But that's kind of where it came out of. Let's look at Matthew chapter 11. It says, and it came to pass when Jesus had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed thence to teach and to preach in their cities. Now when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples and said unto him, art thou he that should come, or look we for another? In a minute we're going to see he brings up Christ, brings up himself, and he brings up, and I'll maybe read some other passages too, and he brings up John the Baptist, how John the Baptist came doing one thing and how he came eating and drinking. They said that Christ was gluttonous. They have no idea what the word gluttony, even those people there that said that about him, had no idea what the word gluttony was really about. They were gluttonous. And I'm bringing this up because he also points out, remember I said yesterday, that what did you go out to see? A reed shaken in the wind? And in the Old Testament, the word gluttonous meant to shake as in the wind. Figuratively, to be loose morally. It's worthless or a prodigal or a riotous eater. And that's what it meant. Somebody, just like you would see a weed or a reed shaken in the wind, and some, 1 minute it was here, 1 minute it was there, 1 minute it was here, When the wind wasn't, it was straight up and down, but as soon as the wind blew, it went both directions. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But keep that in mind as we read through, okay? Go and show John, again, those things which you do hear and see. Also, just to kind of recap yesterday on something here. Notice that he says in verse 2, now when John had heard in the prisons the work of Christ, but then he tells, John sends his disciples, because John's struggling with, did I get this right? Is he the Messiah? John, he sends him back a reminder that you did get it right. But notice he tells them, Jesus answered and said unto them, go and show John. Show him what? Show him the works? How do you show him the works? Right here. You pick it up and you say, John, look here where it says that the Messiah would do these things. And they're being performed by the one that you stood there and said, behold the Lamb of God. Show him and help him to put the connection together so that he can have confidence and not be offended in. He can finish his course, finish his race well. And I believe that's what the Lord wants for everyone. He wants us all to have assurance of our salvation so we can run well and finish well. All right, so let's move on. Verse 4, Jesus answered and said unto them, go and show John again those things which you do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, and the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached unto them. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. And as they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitude concerning John, what went ye out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? A gluttonous person? A rebellious person? A person who doesn't have proper moral values? Doesn't place God at the top, the preeminence in his life? And therefore, because he takes that position, he lives wickedly however he wants. He speaks of his own truth as opposed to the truth. Is that what you went out to see? No, that's not what you went out to see. And he goes on, but what went ye out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet, yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. Remember yesterday, he's pointing out to them, these people that he's about to talk to are like a bunch of children. They've already predetermined in their mind what they believe and what they'll guide their life by. They've already determined that they're at the top, not God, that their word is authoritative, not God's word is authoritative. And that's what we have today with this whole movement of my truth. Tell us your truth. There is no your truth. There is no my truth. There's either truth or there isn't. There's truth. And that truth is found in God's word. Let me say this. When you go into a church service, you have already, I'd say the vast majority of people, most everyone has already predetermined, unfortunately, what they believe and what they're willing to believe. And I say unfortunately because sometimes we're wrong. And no matter what's preached, we're often like that song, I shall not be moved. Right? We're not going to be moved off. The preacher could lay it out in black and white. Here's what God's word says. Here's where he says it here. Here's where he says it here. Here's the full counsel, the full precepts of God's word. And we'll look and go, yeah, but I just don't believe that way. Well, you don't believe truth. And you don't want to either. You do not want to be persuaded. And that's a lot about what this passage is about. He's about to point out to him that. So let's read on real quick. For this is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of woman, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist, notwithstanding he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and all the law prophesied until John. And if you will receive it, this is Elias, which was for to come. And he's saying, if you will receive it, if you have a desire to hear the truth, he said, this is the one that the Old Testament was talking about. And now he's establishing that he himself is Christ the Messiah, if you will hear it. There's a lot in the Bible that we could learn that would solve the problems of our life down here, if you want to hear it. But if you don't. So he goes on, he says, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the market and calling unto their fellows, and saying, we have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. We have mourned unto you, and ye have not lamented. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he hath a devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold, a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend. And here's the real issue, by the way. He's about to point out their real issue here, or part of it, I should say. A friend of publicans and sinners. And then he said he finishes off with, but wisdom is justified of her children. I don't have time to get into what it means. I'm going to give you some definitions real quick. Maybe sometime I'll come back and finish some of the other up. Gluttonous, yesterday we said is to shake. The definition in the Old Testament, the word meant to shake as in the wind, figuratively to be loose morally or worthless or prodigal, righteous eater. Some of the ways I've defined it in the past, just wrote some down, swayed by whatever comes along. Think of a politician. They put their finger in the wind, and whatever direction the political winds are going, all of a sudden they're for that. It's not because they were actually for that. It's because they have a desire for power, and because they have a desire for power, they're gluttonous. They're willing to consume and do what? They're willing to change everything morally about them. They're loose in their moral standings. There is no firm, hard, and fast truth with them. To lighten it a little bit, as the old saying goes, politician, poly, many, tick, blood-sucking parasite. Right? Amen? All right, anyhow. Just saying. It's an indulging, another definition for indulging in something harmful to one's physical or spiritual health, or including as to create an allowance or a reliance for or on something inferior to something superior. I'm going to explain it, okay? In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, he says, let me just say this. Using or laboring, that is like toiling at something for the purpose of gaining peace or rest instead of God. Here, I'll give you the example of food, because that's what most people associate with. Most people that are gluttonous and eat all the time and eat, they're doing it. We have a name for this type of food. It's called comfort food. The Holy Spirit of God is the comforter. They eat because they're in turmoil in their life. They eat because they're stressed in their life. They eat because they're frustrated. They're angered. And when they eat, the body releases all kinds of different things. But it releases endorphins and stuff. And all of a sudden they feel comforted and satisfied. Instead of doing what they should, which is getting alone with God in prayer and pouring their heart out to God, asking God to search them out and asking God to go through His Word and reveal the answers to their problems, they turn to the food as their comforter. That's gluttony. It's putting anything before God as a substitute for what God Himself wants to give to you. You can see it in virtually every walk of life. You can see gluttony. Food, hobbies, drink, drugs, pity, pain, passion, attention. Well, some people are addicted to attention. Power, all kinds of things. It's whatever you put. I'll give you another one real quick and we'll close. And I do not mean this one in any harmful way. I'm just pointing it out because I believe there's a proper way to use what I'm going to say and there's an improper way. And that is, I had a conversation with somebody who was journaling one time. I have no problems with journaling. Memorializing your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and putting things down or writing things down for people for the future or even for yourself for the future, no problems with that. But she was writing like this: Dear Diary, help me with this. Help me with that. And I said, do you realize what you're doing? You're cutting God out of the equation. Why say, Dear Diary? Why pick up an inanimate object and call out to it in written prayer to solve your problems when there's a God in heaven who can bring peace? There's a God in heaven who can bring comfort. There's a God in heaven who can give, he can sustain you and be your all in all. He can be your comforter. I said, I would rip that thing up and throw it away. I'd burn it. And I'd start praying. You want to carry a prayer journal? No problems. But nothing that takes place of God. Otherwise, that's gluttony. All right, somebody give us a verse of a song and we'll be dismissed to the Lord.